Okay, good evening. I'm Regina Keene. I will call to order the Finance Committee meeting of October 14th, 2025. If everyone could join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. A short-ish meeting tonight, but first we have public comment on the agenda, but I see no public here, so we will skip to our new business. The first thing we have is an update from our superintendent of schools on, as you guys might recall, we signed a memorandum of understanding, or the town and the schools did, in July of last year. Yeah. Did we sign it too?
We did too. Yeah.
Outlining some practices that we would put in place just to help provide more checks and balance and ongoing, closer, let's say, regular progress reports to try and avoid any budget issues like we had previously. So superintendent is here to give us an update as to where we are against items outlined in that memorandum of understanding. Okay. And we have Gail joining her, our finance director for schools.
Yes.
Thank you, Gail.
Finance director joining us. So we also brought tonight our first financial report that we gave to the school committee last Thursday that Gail can go over for you as well. Do you want to do the financial report first or the MOA?
You can give us the finance report first, I suppose.
Great. I will pull it up. You should have. Go. Sorry, it's not that easy to see. Make that a little bit bigger. Okay.
Great. So last Wednesday, we actually met with finance director and the town manager, presented a similar chart to them. And then Thursday evening, we presented this to the school committee. So this is a projection that we did as of October 3rd. I do point out to people that it is October 3rd, knowing that the school year sort of starts a little bit later, if you will, than the traditional municipal side. We've had 3 payrolls under our belt, so we're just, making sure all the positions are filled, everything landed. We're still working on some of our transportation routes, so we actually have not received a lot of our first month invoices yet because we don't start transporting students until September, and some of it is outsourced to vendors, so we'll get the bills and confirm all the rates. But so far, everything we've done, we have all of our salaries encumbered. We're reviewing those every pay cycle to make sure we've captured everything that we can. The only items we typically would not encumber are any overtime, hourly employees, some of the stipends that may not happen until later in the year. If you think athletics for a lot of the coaches, we don't know who the coaches are going to necessarily be in the outer seasons. We might have some positions that are currently being filled that the people haven't started yet, so we're constantly reviewing items to make sure everything's being captured correctly. The same with any of our contracts. We have everything encumbered that we've signed contracts for, and we keep updating them as we go. Some of them happen later in the year, or there might be changes, especially in the special education realm, as student placements may change throughout the year. So we're reviewing with everyone. We've set up meetings with all of our principals on a monthly basis. I meet with Pam weekly. I meet with Kristen Ando, who is teaching and learning on the curriculum side. I think we meet at least weekly, and I meet with Lynn O'Neill, special education, I want to say almost on a daily basis. We meet formally almost weekly, but we're in constant contact as things change. So as of right now, we are on target. There is nothing that has jumped out at us. We did have a couple of good items that have happened that I think position us well. We got additional funding at the end of last year for our circuit breaker. The state released funding at the end of the year. I think it actually came in the new fiscal year, so we have that funding available that we're using this year. We had an estimate for circuit breaker that we used, and our actual amount came in higher than we anticipated, which will be the next slide that we've shown, that will show you. So we do have a couple of items just in case special education trends higher, we do have some reserves that we can utilize that we feel good about. So that would help us not have to come to the town to ask for any of the special ed reserve money that was talked about last year. And we will be meeting with, we have budget liaisons from the school committee that will be meeting with that. If they have thoughts or ideas of how to enhance the reporting, we'll be meeting with them. But now this is the format that we are utilizing to help folks understand where we are and what's included.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Just curious, how much are we paying for out-of-district tuitions?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. It's a combination of some of it's in the operating, some of it's grants, and some of it's circuit breaker, but I can pull that number together. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Do you know if the population for out-of-district has gone up or down? Like
It is.
from prior years?
It's ever evolving. We've had a few families move in that are. We've had a few people that have, we actually have a student, which you'll see in the memo, that was out of district last year that is coming back in district.
Okay.
So we're actually moving money from tuition to salary. So every day it's a different answer, but I think we're holding pretty stable with where we were. It's just the degree of the placements can also change.
One other question, are your vacancies, are they encumbered, you said?
No, vacancies would
They're
not
not
be encumbered
encumbered.
because I don't have a person and I don't have a salary. So I include them in my projection. So I've captured it. They're just not encumbered on the GL because there is no legal obligation to pay.
Okay. And how
Sorry,
many-
just for the projection, where is that? Where would we see that? Like
The
in the
projection
estimated
number
total
is in the
expenditures?
last column
Okay.
on the memo. It's, the last column includes
Encumbered
actual,
and
encumbered,
projected.
and
Okay.
projection.
Great.
So once we have a person with a known salary, we would encumber them because then we would have the legal obligation.
And just about how many vacancies do you have?
It's actually a handful. There's a couple,
It's not too
we have
many.
some
Not too
new
many.
attendants, a couple of TAs, I think one position in special education, so we're doing really well with all
Okay,
the
good.
positions.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
other questions?
So I think you referenced this, and I think we've all come to learn rather acutely in the last few years that the out-of-district tuition in special education is particularly volatile, to put it mildly, probably. And I appreciate that you've got, placeholders and forecasting sort of in place now, which didn't seem to be the case before. So thank you. I think that's all I'll speak for myself. It makes me feel a lot more confident when we have these conversations. But can you talk a little bit about how you are putting together those forecasts and placeholders so that we don't have surprises, come here? You must realize, I'm sure, that's sort of the boogeyman, right? So just, if you could just talk a little bit about more.
I will caution to say, you cannot build a perfect mousetrap. There will always be that
Absolutely.
surprise.
Yep.
So what we do is we actually have built up the forecast and projection student by student, so all of our known, any student that is currently out of district with a known placement, we know the rates, we know the number of days, we have all of that included. We have, it may not be the right terminology, this is the finance person, we have what I would call a watch list. So we have a listing of individuals that we are monitoring,
Yep.
that there is a potential that they may go out of district. So for any of those, we'll have a discussion of what is happening, where do we think the most logical placement for such a student would be. That's what we put in as a placeholder in our projection to say, if this student were to go out, we think they're going to go here. This is the daily rate, this is the cost for the tuition, this is the cost for transportation. We also, in having done this for too many years now, we also know that throughout the year we're going to have a need to do assessments. They're typically, you probably heard them called 45-day assessments. So I always put a placeholder throughout the year until the last day of the year hits that we are going to have a handful of those, because that just sort of happens throughout the school year. And when we're meeting, we're actually reviewing every student's placement, those on the watch list, and anyone where we think there may be a change. Because sometimes there could be a change
Right.
in placement from less restrictive to more restrictive to less restrictive. We actually had a great situation this year that we're bringing a student back in district, and you'll see in the memo, to be completely transparent, we did ask the school committee to transfer money because part of bringing the student back is they need additional supports during the day, so we are adding salary dollars to support that student. So we took it out of the tuition line and put it into the salaries line, because that is one of the items that typically occurs when you, and right now we feel we can have that student on an existing in-district transportation. There's also the risks, not a risk, but it's a good thing to have. If we bring more students back, we would have to increase our in-district special ed transportation, so we're constantly monitoring that
No.
as well.
Thank you. I appreciate I think I appreciate the I guess it's sort of the two-headed dragon, right? The need for flexibility, but also the need that's been exemplified over the last few years of budget predictability, right? And I think you've outlined how you're doing that very well. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
I think to your question about the uncertainty, we all know we can't, I mean, people move in and out of districts.
Yep.
You could have a family move in, you could have a family move out. There are rules around how that handles, but we could end up with situations where we have it. I think when we move to the next schedule, one of the other areas that I'm working towards, it will take probably a few years to get us there. We've talked to the town about it as well, is to build up our circuit breaker funding such that we have a year in reserves.
Yeah.
There is,
That's great.
you are allowed under Mass General Law to hold a year of your circuit breaker. Once you get to that point, it's great because you can budget fact certain, because I know how much I have, whereas this year we don't, because we're budgeting so early, I don't know what my claim is going to be, and I don't know what the state is going to fund. So it worked out well because we were very conservative with how we budgeted circuit breaker. But year to year, you just never know how it's going to be funded. So we are taking steps to be as conservative but as fiscally responsible as we can. So hopefully that.
Yeah, no, very
So,
much so. Thank you.
Lynn O'Neill, who's our Director of Special Education, has also put some safeguards in place. So her program coordinators or her educational team leaders, they can't have a discussion about out-of-district placement unless that has been something that's gone through her first and has been a student that, or somebody that we're thinking about. So it's not things that can be brought up at the table. She meets regularly. She's known that was part of her charge when she took this position, in terms of tracking and understanding what our needs might be. So she's been very diligent on top of that and meeting with her staff. And we've added some special education staff, so we have a special education program coordinator in elementary, middle, and high school now. Last year, we only had middle and high school. And we have 2 new assistant principals for student services. So they're working at 2 of the elementary schools, so they do some of the traditional jobs that an assistant principal would do, but a large part of their day is supporting special education.
Great.
Just one quick question. I'm sorry. Again, on the special ed, I know this is like the crankiest thing that you guys ever have to do is try to budget for a special education. I know.
I'm not sure it's the crankiest.
Not that cranky. Anyway, I was just curious whether you've ever put together any kind of a comparison year to year to year, what you have budgeted for special education and what has actually been spent, higher or lower. You know what I mean? Just like, is that just?
So well, I guess I could speak for the past. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we know the answer to
I don't have
that.
Thank you for your honesty.
No.
For your brevity,
So
yes.
what we're actually doing now is we are tracking it. So we could say we budgeted X number of placements, we ended up with Y number of
Yeah,
placements.
yeah.
We know, we also have instances in which schools go to the state to ask for lovely increases that we don't necessarily find out about until after we pass the budget. So since we're now looking at a very granular level, the goal is going forward, we'll be able to say, this is what we budgeted, this is where we
Yeah.
ended up, and this is how we're pivoting as needed going forward. So we're looking, this is sort of the year that we're starting.
The school committee asked us the same question last
Oh, okay.
Thursday, and sort of my answer is,
Yeah.
I can only be responsible for the things that I've done.
Yeah.
So,
No, I totally understand.
and so
I didn't know
and-
whether there was any other, like, past records or anything else you
It's
could pull from, but,
challenging.
and I appreciate that. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could I ask just a, oh, sorry.
I'd say, and it's no disrespect, it's, I can only go off of what I have and what I know and how we
Yeah.
built it.
Absolutely.
So we're
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
to sort of
Start that
reset
now.
Yep.
and go forward.
but that's
fair.
the plan going forward.
Yeah.
Could I ask just a couple of clarifying questions? So you said you have like a so-called watch list and students that do you budget for the case that all of them get the out-of-district placement, or is it a percentage?
No, so here's the challenge.
Mhm.
We all know the budgets are extremely tight. If you think of an average placement for an out-of-district student with transportation and tuition, you want to be conservative because you know it is going to happen. To budget for all of them gets a little bit tricky because we do have, the pie is only so big. So for every student you're doing that for, it becomes what decisions are you making to fund the placeholders? So we did fund, I think we did 3 45-day placements and 4 that we
Okay.
knew, we were
Okay.
very confident they were going to happen. If, in an ideal world, would you budget for the 2 or 3 that would probably happen? I don't think we're there yet from a total budgetary sense, but ideally, once you have the circuit breaker built up, you have a little bit more
Capacity.
comfort in doing that. It's when you're making the cuts we were making, you had to balance the 2
Okay.
of them.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask, I'm sorry to put you on the hot seat so much, but, so when you were talking about transportation, I don't know if I misheard you, do you do some of that in-house for out-of-district? Or is
There-
it all through NRT?
It's all through NRT, but it's 2 separate. So we have a
Yeah.
contract through SEAM, which is our special education collaborative
Mhm.
that we partner with. We're on their contract for out-of-district transportation. So the reason you would do that is because they may have numerous students that they're picking up along the way going to the same school. And when you
Right.
do that, your rate per student goes down.
Yeah.
The district hired NRT when we put it out to bid a few years ago for our in-district special education, and that's just our own students being transported. So NRT does all of it, it's just under different contracts.
They do the in-district, but the out-of-district is all done through the
Through
collaborative?
SEAM. But say it's NRT through SEAM versus NRT through the
Okay,
town.
yep. Okay.
I have a question related to when you have a out-of-district watch list, let's say, how much negotiation or leeway is in like where they go? Like, I'm assuming a rate for this school is A and a rate for this school is B. Like, is it a discussion with the family which school they go to? Do we say we're paying for A? Like,
Really depends on the
I
needs of the,
just-
it really depends on the needs of the students and what, we would tend to look towards our collaboratives, but again, it depends on what the team decides, it depends on the needs of the students, depending on the profile of the student. If we're starting to think about an out-of-placement, that's something that Lynn and her team has already planned for and sort of thinking about where the right place may be for that student.
so you guys have.
And sometimes we cost share.
Once on a watch list or you're kind of paying attention to it, you have identified the school and you kind of know what the rate generally is at that school. Sorry, I'm very new to this topic, so.
Yeah. We've
Sorry.
identified schools that may be the right match for that student.
Yeah.
And to what Pam was saying, that's very much based upon the team. I cannot get involved, nor do I
So the
get
team says,
involved.
this is the best school, and
They-
then you just go a rate card, this is kind of what this school generally costs, and, okay.
The rates are published on the
Mhm.
They are, okay.
For all out-of-district.
Yeah, it's on the OSD has a list SEAM has theirs. We typically know unless it's a really specialized residential, then it's.
Okay.
And for anybody listening, I also want to say, when you start thinking about a student maybe needing something a little bit more than what we have to offer, it also is an opportunity for the school district to think about what kind of programming we have in the school and how we might change that a little bit, which is why every student who we may potentially think could use something different may not go out, because we are able to shift and adjust the needs, adjust our staffing or adjust the programming within the school district so that we can support the students. But that's another way of seeing what our students' needs and ways that we can address that.
So to that point, did I see something from the school committee about we're bringing something back in, like at the
So
old
we
senior center or
used
something?
to partner with Andover at one point. We had a program for our 18 to 22-year-old students. And because of the number of students that we had and the number of students that Andover had, we had a partnership with Andover, and this program was located at in Andover and called the TOP program. It was for our 18 to 22-year-old students. We had always had a plan to look at the potentially the North Andover Senior Center as a place to potentially move the program to. We were talking with Andover about potentially moving the whole program, but as we were looking at that space and looking at the numbers, Andover's numbers of students was considerably higher than the number of North Andover students that were participating in the program. And it seemed like we were it was the perfect time to go together whenever that happened, as they were building a program. But it seemed like now was the time for Andover to establish their full program and for North Andover to establish theirs. So we brought our program back here. They're currently based at the North Andover Middle School because the senior center isn't quite ready yet, and we had a little bit of space at North Andover Middle School, and it's great because the MIVA bus comes right through there, and really our students, this is about helping them to learn their community, to be able to navigate their community, so that our program is back here in North Andover.
That's great. And I mean, I think it's great just for the needs of the students, but just since we are the finance committee, is that going to generate a savings for us, or is it going to be kind of equal, or like bringing it back in-house? Do we have an estimate?
It has generated a slight savings when we did add staff to
Right.
support it, and we're going through looking at the activities, but it has generated a slight savings.
Andover used to employ the staff, and we would pay our portion.
them, yeah.
So now we're our own staff.
Okay.
It's great.
Can I ask, in that vein, do we have any out-of-district students, do we have any neighboring districts or anything that we would place a student in where they have the services available for it to be less expensive than an actual outplacement?
I don't know if we are currently doing that. We would always explore that if there was a program that was in a neighboring district. We take tuition students into our district
Right.
from other school districts who don't have a program that we offer. I don't know if we have any in other towns at this point, but we would definitely explore that if that was an option.
So they're tuitioned in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any other?
Yeah, a couple, if you don't mind. So that sparks a question, and I don't know that this is even relevant, but my curiosity's got the better of me now. Do we send out more kids than we take in, or do we take in? You know what I mean?
To out-of-district placement?
Yeah.
We send out more students to out-of-district placement than we service than we take in from another district, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, and then you talked a little bit about this earlier, but I just have a couple of thoughts. So you requested from the school committee last week. You said the out-of-district tuition to fund a one-on-one teaching assistant. Did they approve?
Yes.
They
Okay,
did.
good.
So that's on the
'Cause-
back of this memo, the transfer of funds. It's where the bullet is.
Oh, okay. I guess I just didn't catch. I knew you requested it. I didn't know if they
Yep.
had approved it. Okay, because they did. So first of all, I think that's a thoughtful way to reinvest the savings. So thank you for doing that. I think that's a good thing. But I guess it leads me to the question: how do you ensure that these sort of midstream reallocations, I guess maybe is the best word, don't create a deeper structural problem towards the back end of the budget?
So this was an instance in which we knew, so it's,
You know what I mean? If this keeps if you keep doing this, right, it's,
Be a good thing.
it should be, but I guess if you have to keep hiring staff, then,
There is a significant savings when you bring a student back in district. So this one, we're adding TA, so we're not adding teachers for
Okay.
this one. But if you look at the typical cost of a student's tuition and transportation, it's
far exceeds.
6 figures
Yeah, okay,
to
okay.
do that. And we transferred just the portion that we needed, and we were asked the question, well, why wouldn't you transfer all of it? And the reason we're not transferring all of it is because we know we've had changes in the students and the population and the placement since we budgeted it. So to the extent we can keep it within the tuition, it allows us, if we have savings at the end of the year, we know we're going to make sure we're preserving our circuit breaker. There's also the opportunity that you can prepay tuitions for the following year, which gives you even additional support for the next year. So we're working very closely to
great.
make sure we're exploring every avenue. And you'll see on the next slide that part of why we're also doing this is we don't want to be as reliant on our grant funding
Yep.
for some of these items.
We
So
we
hopefully
appreciate that too, yeah.
answers.
No, thank you, yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
So, on the homeless students, that seems to be a very unpredictable number.
Yes,
Do
it
you
is.
have a reserve budgeted? It's just what you know about?
So, as of right now, I think I said we were 19 days into the
Yeah,
school
sure,
year.
sure.
And
I'm
not,
brand new here, by the way.
not meaning to
Just
be,
trying
it's
to-
just, it
Just trying to get my
honestly,
bearings.
in addition to talking to Lynn O'Neill, I think I talk to Lucy every day when she comes in my office and she's like, so, I'm like, okay. It's foster, it's a
Right,
whole
right.
combination of items. So as of right now, we are doing well compared to what we had budgeted. We're slightly under, but again, we know we have a few students that are in flux. We put out to bid every single year. Once we know, we bid out each student individually. We were able to get better pricing this year, which was great. But again, we start the year, I think we added 3 or 4 kids from the first day of school until now.
Yeah.
So it does fluctuate
Sure.
daily. We have some that come off, some that come on, some that where we're transporting to changes. So we're keeping a close eye on it. But unlike circuit breaker, there is no reserve. We would
Sure.
look towards other items within the budget to fund it if we needed to.
Understood. Okay, thank
You
you.
do cost share with the district where the student
Oh,
is
okay.
living for
Sure.
transportation.
Okay. All right, great, thank you.
Like it's minimal, but it helps the reimbursement for the foster kids every year.
We
Yeah.
do, it's a year in arrears, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
based upon when you submit your end of year report, which isn't until October and November,
Right.
so there is a lag. We try to get reimbursed for all
Portion of it.
items.
Yeah.
It's,
So you track them separately.
we track them separately. We have each student identified as to the
Okay.
reason and how it would get.
You mentioned that we get paid tuition for kids that we take in. How do you set that rate?
So that's based on looking at the students, what their needs are, what it would cost us. So it's not like it's not the full cost of a teacher. We look at what, teacher, TA, what other types of services and items they would need in district and build up a cost structure.
It's something that Lynn looked at with Gail's, oops, I went to sleep here, with Gail's assistance last year, because one of the things we found is that we weren't charging enough for some of the students that we tuition in.
So it's unique to every
It's, yeah, it was just
It's unique to every
It's unique
student.
to each student.
That's a lot.
that,
It's,
jeez.
know.
That's a job.
That's
figuring.
complex.
it,
I know, I understand why,
Yeah.
but I was assuming
Yeah.
that you
We
were
don't
flat
tuition
rates.
in a lot of
Yeah.
students. A lot
I
of
think we have
districts,
3.
yeah, and we probably maybe have 3 students that we tuition in. A lot of students have their own programs, but if you're a smaller district or you don't quite have the program, and here's an opportunity to stay in a public school setting.
The tops, I mean.
It's
I
called Launch
I
now.
get that that's big enough for the Andover population was big
Mhm.
enough for them to do their own thing and us to do ours, but would we consider taking other kids from other towns not in Andover into our
Yeah,
TOPS program and
once you have your new
collecting?
space.
We call it launch now.
That.
The whole idea of an 18 to 22-year-old, 18 to 22 program is that you want to help the students be prepared for the next phase of their life, and you really want them to be to understand their community. So there could be potential if a district, reached out to Lynn or reached out to us if they didn't have a capacity to be able to support their students, or it might be too, something. But you really want students to be from the district that they're in, because you're trying to help them navigate the busing and shopping and where they can go for recreation and certain things like
So
that.
it's not necessarily in the best interest of the student.
Not always.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I had a really good friend whose son went through the program. I mean, it was kind of
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, it was in Andover.
Yeah,
He went
yes.
to Andover. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Maybe if it was a town close by and they,
Yeah.
they might reach out, they hear there's a program.
I'm really excited about the senior center taking on, the old senior center taking on a new
It'll be-
capacity like that. It's a great space. Why do I know the farmer's market's been there also? But it is a great space.
Yeah.
And I know
Oh, and
they're-
it's right downtown,
yeah, it's
really
it's
easy
a
to
great
navigate.
location. Yeah, so that's encouraging.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Any other
All right.
questions on this before we move to slide 2?
Hopefully slide 2 will be.
Okay, slide 2.
You have it in front of you too, because it's not that big on screen. I'm sorry.
We're also,
It is an eye
here
chart.
to service projects for people as well. So we had been asked, and this is something in previous districts that I've provided throughout the year and then definitely during the budget process. This is a summary of all of the various grants that the school district receives. And this really came out of people asking, well, how much does it really take to run the school district? So you have the general fund, you've got the grants, albeit there's capital, there's Amazon money, but this is what we're looking at with the operating funds and the grants is really sort of the nuts and bolts operational side of it. So we've broken it down to the top part are the federal entitlement grants. These are all formulaic. These are the ones, I don't know how to footnote this. These are the ones that you can typically expect to receive year in and year out. I cannot guarantee where this is going to go in the future, but we were also asked, how do we feel about the FY26 numbers? The good thing is that the federal government's year end is different than ours, so the FY26 was already appropriated in their prior budget. So we have been told proceed status quo for the grants that we have here. I can't predict what's going to happen in the future. So these we apply, they tell us the amounts. It is a combination. Some of them do have salaries on them, so that's why we are very careful to monitor them. The IDEA grant has some salaries, some out-of-district transportation, and out-of-district tuition. So that's why we're looking to build up the circuit breaker and other items so that, as you can tell, some of these are trending down. So we're trying to make sure we have a plan in place if that trend continues. The next section are competitive grants. So those are various grants typically offered through DESE that districts, for lack of a better word, compete for. So it's all dependent upon what your submission is and how many districts apply. They're typically one and done types of grants where you wouldn't expect to get them year after year unless there's a reason why some of them may have been continuing. I think the Vacation Acceleration Academy, a lot of that came out of COVID, so those are kind of done now. Those we make sure when we're writing them that they're for one and done items. Usually it's for PD or materials and supplies. We would not put salaries on there because we know that they're one and done and you don't want to build a cliff that eventually you're going to walk off of. So those we're very careful. Sorry, that's the only analogy I have is that if you put staff on them.
Believe me, we're well aware.
So we also have our director of nursing has done a great job. She's getting grants. We also have earmarks that
Mhm.
We
Correct.
are getting, which we're very fortunate this year for the ones we're getting, and again, we're using all of those for materials, supplies, they're not staff items on there. We're also getting monies for Chromebooks, which is exciting. The last one on here is the circuit breaker. That is a reimbursement grant through the state that is dependent upon your claim. So it's a year in arrears. So our funding this year is based upon our claim that we filed in July. So if you think about it, I'm not gonna know this year, when I'm doing the budget for next year, I'm not going to have this year's claim. So it all becomes your best estimate. This year, the state funded it at the maximum for the tuition piece and pretty close to the maximum for transportation, which is the first time that they've done that. Typically, they start the funding low and then they supplement it as the year goes on. So we budgeted 2.3 million for circuit breaker. This came in about $1 million higher,
3.3.
which we're very excited and thankful for. So this is the part where we're saying if we can
Yes.
start to put that in our back pocket. You have 2 years to spend it, so I got it this year. I don't have to spend it till June of the following year. So to the extent we can carry it forward, it gives us that sense of cushion, if you will, in the following years for as items change. The goal for pretty much every district I have worked with is to build it so you have a full year in reserve, so that you're budgeting fact certain, and whatever you get next year helps you if something happens, or you have it fact certain the future year.
I don't think I've ever seen circuit breaker like that.
No.
No, I mean, that's like, wow.
We were tracking
went,
it because it was
"Oh," that
late
morning.
coming out, and when we got the news, I'm surprised people didn't hear the collective sigh of relief, because usually it goes the other way, where you were like, I
Yeah.
thought I was conservative, and
Yeah, no,
so it was great news.
It is
So-
great news.
So where will we see that in this?
You will
Sort of chart
not
as an
see
extra
it.
$1 million.
That's why we're doing these, because the first chart is general
Oh, it's
fund,
just salaries
which
and
is,
expenses, so since it's not, okay.
well, it's also because that is what is appropriated through town meeting. That is the general fund. The
That's-
grants are outside of that, does not go through town meeting, is not appropriated. It's additional funding that comes directly to the schools that we wanted.
The
to-
school committee has often asked,
Yeah.
what would it, if you were not to receive
Right.
any funding, any grant funding, if you didn't receive this,
Yeah.
what are
valid
the,
question.
what else, how much more money would it cost to run the district? So, we're,
That's the answer.
yeah,
That's
there you
the
go.
answer.
So, where would we look monthly to realize that we're not spending this money, but we're actually keeping it in a reserve?
For the circuit
the circuit
The
breaker.
circuit breaker. Like, what account does that go in, or how do we?
It's a separate account within Munis, so right now we are charging against it. What we typically do is if we had anticipated using it, we would, and then at the end of the year, we could transfer money from the operating to circuit breaker, or circuit breaker to
Oh.
the operating. But
Right.
there is, right now, there would be a balance that we have not. It's tricky because we don't have the cash yet. The cash comes in throughout the
Oh.
year. So if you looked at
Oh,
it from a
right.
cash standpoint,
I see.
it doesn't marry.
So you
up.
just get like a memo, this is what you're getting, but you don't actually get the money.
It comes in 4
until-
installments,
okay.
so you sort of negative spend.
But,
Right.
but could we expect to see that in a monthly financial update?
Right, that's what I was getting at.
Like a grant update?
Well, they just said quarterly, right?
Okay, so
Quarterly.
so quarterly,
Quarterly,
so every
yeah.
3 months? You know what I'm saying?
For how much of it how much of the 3.3?
How much of it is encumbered versus not encumbered, maybe?
How much of the 3.3 is planned to be used
Yeah.
versus planned to be sitting in reserve, so that we can
Also
see on a
have
monthly
Think about it.
basis?
I would say
Like
think
getting charged against it. So
Yeah.
they also have expenses that are automatically getting charged against it, so it's kind of not. gonna
Right.
be a-
Yeah, it's sort
Right.
of a
Yeah,
fluid item. So what's interesting is we do have certain ones, so we had a carryover from last year, so we've used last year's because we got additional funding from the state, which was completely unexpected. So we used all of that before we started tapping into this
Mhm.
year's, so we'll start tapping into this year's. And as we assign students, we encumber their full amount on there. So it's sort of each time we get a new item, we look at where does it make sense to
I
place
guess,
it. We do have funds that we had budgeted to go on the IDEA grant. The tricky part this year is because of everything that's happening, all of the grants got delayed. They didn't open the grants until later. You cannot charge to a grant until the grant has been approved, so we have not started charging anything to the grant yet because none of the grants have been approved, so we're sort of,
They backdate it to the date of submission, so the
not
initial
date of
date.
submission, it's date of approval.
Oh, they told us date of
So-
submission.
It's a
The-
little bit,
Okay.
it's been a little bit tricky. We're waiting to get the they issue a memo that says, here's the official
Yeah.
approval date. So right now, we have money, we have it all encumbered, either operating or circuit breaker, until we get approval for the grants, and then we'll look at it and we'll be moving things. That's why it's a little bit tricky,
so
but we definitely can give a
yeah,
report.
well, so let me tell you what I'm thinking, and you tell me if this matches with the reason you asked the question is, I think what you've outlined here is a really healthy plan that we want to give you credit for as you save towards it, right? So the only way we can do that is if you come in here on a monthly basis or quarterly basis and tell us, hey, it looks like we're going to save, and we're never going to hold you to it, right? I mean, if something unexpected happens, that's what these things are for, right? You're saving for unexpected things. But to be able to say, to pat you on the back and say, hey, you came in here in October and said you were going to try and save some of this money the best we can. And look, now I've done it 10%, 5%, 2%, whatever it is. I think we'd like to pat you on the back for that, right? So, but the only way we can do that is if we know you've done it on a rolling basis. That was my thought behind it. I don't know if that's why you asked the question or not, but that was my thinking behind it.
We
So
definitely
hopefully that
can.
makes sense.
I think I would, which I feel like I've been asking for grace for a lot of people this week. I think while we're waiting for some of the dust to settle with the grants for us to really take a look at where it is, I think quarterly makes a lot of sense for me, because I'm not sure next month at this time I'm going to have an answer on where all of my other grants stand. But we can commit to reporting out, because I would obviously, as part of the budget process too, when we're presenting the budget in January, this would be part of it where I would say, I anticipate being able to carry over X amount.
Right.
I'm still building in Y amount to get people used to the concept, because it's not something we've been able to do.
Yep.
But I appreciate you, because it can change. I could have one
Totally.
residential placement where I could say, I'm carrying it forward, and next month I could say, and I'm not.
And you're
Yeah, I think that's more what what you just said is great, but what I'm
Thank you.
more getting at is we have $1 million
I
of
was
money
trying to
we
be
didn't
positive,
think we were
Regina.
gonna have. We set a budget without knowing we were gonna have that money. I just want us to be aware, instead of a new person coming in and you just use some of that $1 million to cover that new person or whatever, or it goes out. You know what I mean? And it's not visible to anyone. That's what I'm afraid of happening. So I'd rather say, here's the $1 million, maybe not exactly like this, but here's the $1 million extra. We wanted to save it. Now we can't save it because we have this unexpected. Now we can't save it because we have that unexpected. So that we're capturing those unexpecteds instead of having them be buried by this extra money. That's more why I'm asking, because I feel like that's the problem we had in years past when you guys were not in these seats, where there was money and it just got used and no one really
Wasn't
knew
accounted for.
it wasn't accounted for. And I know I don't see that happening here with you guys, but that's why I'm
No,
asking.
Gail says no very well. Gail's very strict about it.
Can I ask you a question about the IDEA grant? You mentioned you have some salaries on there. How many salaries?
It's a combination of partial teachers and TAs, so I think we have about I want to say 300,000, 275 to 300.
Are they 1.0 FTEs? Like, oh, they're not. Okay.
It's portions of it because it depends. It gets tricky because in a perfect world, in the IEDA grant as well, you can carry forward funds. In a perfect world, you would assign a 1.0. The tricky part is because the grants haven't been approved yet, I'm already paying the people, so I can't attach a full person. So we've also been trying to limit one of the goals, which is why we also have tuition on there. One of the goals when doing the grants is to limit the amount of professional salary dollars you put on the grants, because you also have to pay
The MTRS.
the
That's what I was
MTRS.
getting
So
at.
it's a 9%. So we have been
'Cause
balancing
you don't want to take
it.
that 9% hit for 300,000. You know what I mean? If you
We've
can
been,
take,
we've been sort of weaning it down. It becomes it's the discussion to bring them back onto the operating, to make sure
Yeah.
if you bring them back on, you're taking something again out of the operating
right.
and moving it to the grant, and you're not just moving it and adding other things to the grant. So it takes a little bit of time
Yeah.
to be able to thoughtfully do that. There are some districts that the entire grant is salaries, so they're taking a much bigger, whereas now we've done a good job of looking at a combination of professional and the TAs. The TA side, you're not paying the 9%
Yeah.
on, so the full
Right.
amount, we wouldn't be. So we are working.
Okay. Yeah,
on
that was
that.
what I was kind of
Yeah.
going down to. Okay.
It's a little bit of a process too.
'Cause I hate to see that 9% go.
And, yeah, it's a weird rule.
I know.
Any other questions on the grants? This is very enlightening, for sure.
Super great.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, can I ask one other question?
Sure.
It's an easy one.
No more.
Do you have somebody in charge of your grants? Like, is there a specific person, or do they do it like the civics is going to be handled and, or,
It's-
you know?
Currently, we do, the special education ones are handled through Lynn O'Neill and hers. The titles and some of the entitlements are really Kristen Ando's running point on that through the teaching and learning side. I will say that's an area we've been talking a lot about is
But then
how
like
to.
the competitive one, like the nursing one, so the director of nursing,
Yeah.
Cheryl Barzak,
Yeah.
runs that. We just received a health and safety one, I believe.
Yeah.
SEL director, Michelle O'Leary, runs that one. But like the genocide grant or the civics grants, they all, we may have a teacher leader that might be running the PD, but Kristen Ando would oversee those grants. 'Cause
But
they're
you
part of
don't have
teaching and learning.
one key person that is overseeing all your
No, a
and
grants
working
person
with
would be great.
What's a genocide grant? Oh, you don't have, I mean,
So
I'm
it's-
reading it going, I have no clue.
Meredith Tracy has done a beautiful job working on that. And I would actually probably have Kristen Ando and Meredith talk a little bit more about
Okay,
that
you don't
and the
have to
work
go
that
into
they've
it
been
now.
doing in terms of literacy and what that looks like.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know, it sounds like, it sounds really intense.
She's written an amazing curriculum for that.
Very cool.
They have that virtual
Okay, so-
tour of Auschwitz too. I don't know if you've done that. It's amazing.
Can we pivot to the memo?
We sure can.
And get a sense as to where we are on these items that
Yes.
we agreed to.
So on the screen is the actual MOA, and then you have a 2-page document that I'll just reference in terms of the MOA. So number 1 was about monthly reporting. The North Andover Public Schools shall meet monthly with the town of North Andover, review the current budget. The meeting shall include a review of documents. There should be a memo and report to the Finance Committee, School Committee, and Select Board. So in FY25, the school department provided written financial updates to the Finance Committee and Select Board in September, October, January, and March. While these updates did not meet the MOA's the intent for the monthly reporting, the district and the town were engaged in significant collaboration to improve accuracy in reporting formats. After hiring the financial consultant, Gail Dowd, in November of 2024, both the town and the school department worked closely to determine the most accurate and transparent way to share data from the town's accounting software, which is Munis. Before this, reports did not reflect all of our encumbered salaries or contract expenses, and the district was reluctant to release data that could be misleading. Additionally, in FY25, we had an extremely challenging budget season requiring the preparation of multiple budget scenarios and proposed reductions. While this work temporarily limited our reporting frequency, we did meet monthly with the town manager and the town finance team to review financial reports from Munis and discuss the district's financial status. Looking ahead, North Andover Public Schools is fully committed to resuming and maintaining monthly written reports for FY26 that's aligned and expected with this MOA. So I did send something to you in September, which had some updates in terms of the hiring, how many people that we lost, how many people we brought back in. And then you just have October's. I might sort of reword that and send it out again. In terms of number 2, before the expiration of this agreement, the school district shall create an indirect cost analysis documenting the costs that should be charged to revolving and other special revenues. So throughout FY25, the school department and the town finance team collaborated to identify indirect costs that should be charged to revolving and special revenue accounts. This work is ongoing, and it will be continued in FY26 to finalize a comprehensive indirect cost analysis before the MOA expires. That's work that we did all of last year and will continue to do. Number 3 is the encumbrances of contracted expenses and salaries no later than August 31st. The current MOA requirement calls for all salaries and contracted expenses to be encumbered by August 31st. Due to the school department's pay schedule and timing of final staffing adjustments, full compliance by that date is not feasible. We have discussed with the town manager and the town finance team and recommended amending this deadline to October 1st, which would align with our actual payroll cycles and ensure accurate encumbrances. So we did meet with Melissa Rodriguez and Dennis last week, and they seem to be amenable to an October 1st reporting. Dennis is here. He can either nod. Maybe he's nodding behind me.
Gave a thumbs up
Did
behind
he?
you.
Excellent. Good job. Number 4 is the school should make certain to have written contracts for purchases and services over $10,000 to bid all services over $100,000 in compliance with Mass General Law 30B and Chapter 149. So number 4. The district remains in compliance with Mass General Laws 30B and 149. Written contracts are executed for purchases and services over $10,000, and all purchases exceeding $100,000 are bid appropriately. During FY26, Assistant Town Manager Lori Burslaff will be leading a purchasing and procurement training for all administrators with purchasing authority, reinforcing best practices and compliance expectations. So I think she'll be meeting with our leadership team on November 17th. And then there is a virtual session that the IG's office has put out that Lori has suggested that our people that are have purchasing power attend. So there's one for 30B and there's one for fraud. And so that's in November and December.
Those are super valuable. I found them very valuable.
Number 5, the school agrees to send at least one employee to the MCPPO training and require all employees who are authorized to make purchases to attend a purchase procurement training that will be offered by the town. So Gail is, who is our interim finance director, she is MCPPO certified. Tracy Michaela, who is our assistant business manager, has completed the first course of the MCPPO training, which is the 30B training. And Nicole Smythe, who works as part of our HR finance team, she's the front office. She is currently in process of taking the complete course for MCPPO training during FY26. And as I said, Lori will be coming to meet with our staff, and we are set up to do the virtual training. Number 6. The school committee agrees to review the financial policies once the financial review is finalized and to review any changes with the finance committee. And you can see, I wrote there, that's to be completed by the school committee once the financial review process to be finalized. So you could reach out to Chair Hicks at that time to discuss that. Number 7, the school agrees to begin a full implementation of Munis. The district continues to move forward with the implementation of Munis. All payroll and expense activity is now entered directly into the town's accounting system, improving transparency, accuracy, and consistency across departments. All school and district administrators are actively using Munis to initiate and approve purchases, requisitions, ensuring that purchasing activity is properly routed through the system for review and approval. Number 8, the school committee agrees to review user fees to make certain that our user fees are being fully covered by folks that are benefiting from the services. So the district did conduct a review of user fees. We implemented increases in athletics, preschool, so athletic user fee, preschool tuition, custodial rentals, So that means that if you, what we had before was a flat rate for custodians, if you know or remember, but now that doesn't happen, so it pays for their custodians. And community programs to better align revenue with actual cost. Our Director of Personnel and Operations, Greg Landry, he's currently developing a long-range plan to ensure sustainability and equity across programs, because what we don't want is to increase fees for every program every year. So what he's looking at is all of the fee structures we have and developing a plan for when something might increase. The other is with the addition of the turf fields that's coming to North Andover. Steve Nugent is putting together, he'll be working with Greg. We have potential to rent the fields now in the summertime. So he's putting together his proposal for what he would think would be a fee structure for renting the fields. And number 9, as soon as realistically possible, the town agrees to support the school committee, report to the school committee, finance committee, and select board the full extent of the schools. So the impacts of FY24 and 25 deficits have been publicly communicated through school committee meetings, town meetings, and written updates shared with the broader community. Both the town and school department have worked together to better provide transparent and accurate information regarding these deficits and the corrective measures taken. So just in summary, while FY25 presented significant challenges and transitions, the North Andover Public School and the town of North Andover have made substantial progress towards the intent and spirit of the MOA. Our partnership has strengthened financial systems, improved transparency, and built a solid foundation for sustaining budgeting. We remain committed to fulfilling all requirements in FY26, including resuming monthly written reports, completing the indirect cost analysis, and continuing collaboration to work with the town and maintain North Andover's fiscal integrity.
This is great. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, so first of all, this is great. I commend you on this and appreciate it. And I just want to say, as far as only 4 written updates, I think it's widely known that, the car was going at 60 miles an hour, you were changing the tires, and then the fluids got low, right? You can't fix everything all at once rolling down the highway. So I think, at least from my perspective,
Thank you, appreciate
understood. That. You know what I mean? And look, you were in here every meeting, every other meeting, talking to us and stuff. So I think you should give yourself some grace on that.
Appreciate it.
You have explained, and I know you've talked about this, and I would agree with the fact that, well, I would agree to some extent, the fact that you didn't release some data for fear that it was inaccurate and creating some pictures that may have not been good. How can, obviously you have a professional interim finance director now and staff and policies produced, but that's something, that I personally don't want to happen again. Like I would rather you tell us what you see and come in here and explain to us why you're seeing it than not give us anything for fear that we could misconstrue it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't, so let me ask a couple clarifying
Yeah,
questions.
fair enough.
So is the question about why wait till October 1 for your first financial report, or is the question why weren't there reports why did we stop after October and not start again until January?
I think neither of those things.
Okay.
So I think that you said in here, and I'll.
So what I meant was, what my intent of those words were, the reason we stopped, we did September, October, and stopped and waited until January was because, well, I don't actually know where I put that. So the 2 things. One is that the reason that stopped was because we didn't. I think we were reporting, looking like we were going to have a surplus.
Yep.
At one point, and that wasn't correct because we hadn't encumbered what we needed to encumber. And the same reason I wouldn't recommend reporting in early September because we haven't encumbered the funds yet. Yep. I mean, we could forecast in the way that we have a number now that is both encumbered and forecasted, but just typical. It's very typical, that, and I know that North Andover is not typical, and we've been through a lot, and that people, that there are, we want to make sure we don't go down that road again. None of us want to go down that road again, right? My card is not going to make it down that road again. But it's very typical for school districts to start their financial reportings to their boards in October. This was a question that was asked of me by my own board, so I did poll all that would answer me, superintendents in Massachusetts, what's your reporting cycle? And most of them report on a quarterly basis starting in October, because it makes sense sort of given. Now, we've committed to a monthly basis here because we're not quite yet ready for quarterly. We'll hopefully get there for the school committee.
That's good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think if I understand your question, if I may, I think the pause last year was, and I will say, someone asked me earlier when I feel like I've been here 10 years, and it's probably been 10 months, but I think part of it too is when we realized we needed to actually take that step back, look at everything that was encumbered, look at everything that was anticipated, which is when we saw some pretty significant shifts between what had been reported. I think we had asked for a little bit of grace to say, give us a little bit of time. They had just brought, I'll talk about myself in the third person. They had just brought people in to really take a look at what had been being prepared and projected, so that it wasn't just, we think this is, we wanted to have a moment to dive into it. So I think that might have been what your question was, why there was a gap between what had been, and then there was a little bit of a gap, and then we started again on the monthly. I think it was,
And we didn't ever stop meeting with the town, and we
No,
didn't
I
stop
know
meeting
that,
with school
yeah.
board, but we didn't share information with select board and FinCom.
No, you know what? So admittedly, I read this a little while
Yeah.
ago, so I misremembered that statement was related to the report. So I completely understand it. In my mind, I had it related. I conflated two things. So you've more than explained it. I feel very comfortable. So then, final question for me is just how is the indirect cost analysis going? Is it going okay? I mean, is it? You're
well, we
making.
spent a good amount of time. I keep looking. Feel like I'm looking over my shoulder. He's not doing rabbit ears. We spent a lot of time last year with Dennis and Kyle going through looking at what's allowable, whether you do a flat fee. We looked at utilities. So we spent a good amount of time, got comfortable with what we were doing. This year we've already started to kick the tires again. Obviously, we closed the school, so we're looking at what happens to some of the indirect costs that the other schools were charging. Now that we sort of threw everything in the air, we're saying, okay, now what space is each program using? How are we looking at it? But we had a good model last year that we're going to build upon, and I think each year you look to you kick the tires every year to make sure it still makes sense, and is there anything that you should be thinking about? So I think we did a really good job last year establishing it, and now it's just fine tuning, and then hopefully set it, forget it, and
Good. Thank you.
Any questions?
No? Good, thanks.
Chris?
How do you like using Munis?
I used Munis in my previous job. I think it's fine. I like better now that Gail's here and that she's the final stop and I'm not. But I think, I think it wasn't that Munis wasn't being used, just in all honesty. It was that there weren't necessarily the checks and balances that were put in place. And that, just making sure that everybody that has a budget is the person that's approving that budget. So at the schoolhouse level, if if they're putting through a purchase order, then the principal is logging into Munis, and the principal is the person that's overseeing that purchase order, and then it sort of goes down the proper chain until it gets to Gail finally, who has the ultimate decision whether or not to approve that.
Because that's one of the only ways you are going to be able to report year after year after year, is everybody's consistently using the same system.
Right.
Right?
And, I think one of the things that Gail has been great about, and everybody that's maintaining their budget, is really making sure that we're, to your point, we're putting the money in the right spot. And if the money's not there may be some movement this year so that we get it right the next time, so that it's, so that we're spending from the place that we said we were. And it's not just that you have, not just that you have $100,000 and go and spend it on anything you want, that these are the things that we committed to spending the $100,000 on, and that there should be a match,
Yeah,
right?
there
So if
should
a
be a ma- I
purchase
mean,
order
that's-
comes forward
it's
and
the
it wasn't
whole
something that
accounting
you
thing.
put
There's
on
gotta
your
be a
original
match.
budget saying
Right.
that you were going to spend part of your $100,000 in that thing, it's like, well, no, you don't get to buy that.
Yeah. I mean, because everybody makes, you can't help but make mistakes, but when it doesn't match, then that's when you know, right?
Right,
And that's
yeah.
when you dig, so
Yeah.
that's.
And budget season for
Congratulations
us
for
has
having
sort of
to come up with
started,
that.
July 1, really, in lots of ways of thinking about what's moving forward in terms of where we are. Our schoolhouse leaders are presenting their school improvement plans to the school committee, and in those plans, they have been trying to share a little bit of sort of forward thinking in terms of like to be able to do this, or by projecting as we do this, it may have implications on the budget, and these are some of the things I may be asking for.
Well, I just want to thank you guys again for this.
Seriously.
Your commitment to transparency is very much appreciated.
It's transparent.
And it's transparent, it is. No, it's wonderful. I feel very comfortable, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you putting that effort to
Thank you for your
giving
time.
us
I
this
agree.
report.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
look
you.
forward to
Both.
following the monthly progress.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you. Thanks for coming in and
Our
for
pleasure.
answering all of our questions.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Have a great night.
All right, you too.
Okay. Next thing on our agenda is to review the policies and procedures. I believe an email was sent, Nicole, I think, sent these out. Did everyone have a chance to look at the policies and procedures?
I did print this. Oh, you're talking about the policies and procedures? Yeah, I printed it out,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I printed a copy for myself to,
Wanna look at it?
but I did not make a photocopy for everyone, so my apologies for that. I did notice that it says that we shall provide new members with a bunch of things, and I wanted to ask you, Jen, if we provided you these things.
Most of them. So I think I reached out to
Yep.
you, and I've got links to some of them and hard copies of others. So I think I'm in good shape. The one thing that Melissa has offered to have a session for newer members of the FinCom, including myself, to give us like the 101, and she's watching for the Association of Municipal Finance. I probably have the name wrong. They run a course or something, and so she's going to share that
Oh, awesome.
information when
Okay,
it's
good.
when the next session becomes available. So
Right,
Yeah, she mentioned that to me a while back.
yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah, it's not a regular thing, I don't think. I think it's through the MMA, the
Okay,
Mass
maybe.
Municipal
Yes,
Association.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah, who it's from. So she's going to watch for
That
that.
would probably be helpful.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as soon as there's another session, I'll take it.
Okay. Does anybody have any thoughts as to changes that they want to make to this, or are we comfortable with this?
For the moment. We just made changes.
We did just make
2 years
changes,
ago.
yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah,
wasn't
we
nothing
did.
huge, but we did go
Yeah.
through and,
We did.
so.
I read through it all and I felt comfortable with it still. If everyone else does, I'll take a motion to adopt. I'm looking for a
I
vote to
will-
adopt these policies and
Sure.
procedures.
I will move that the Finance Committee adopt the draft policies and procedures document before it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, passes. Okay,
Can I, sorry. to
Yes.
interrupt. So Nicole helped quite a bit with that.
oh,
And,
great, I did not
and
know.
she did a great job. So I would just like
Thank you
to
to Nicole.
publicly thank Nicole.
Okay. Okay, then we have the approval of our minutes from our September 15th meeting. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at those?
Yep, I would move adoption of the draft copy of our minutes that is included in our packet from the September 15th meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. So our next meeting date is November 17th. I believe that the Revenue and Fixed Cost Committee should hopefully have met by then, because they're supposed to have an initial meeting by November 20th. So Jeannie will, I will help figure out when that meeting's gonna be.
Okay.
And get that information to you and Keith. But I'm hopeful that, because I think in our next meeting, maybe an update from that Revenue and Fixed Cost Committee meeting would be what's gonna be on our agenda, just to preview.
Is that the tri-board meeting on the 17th?
No, then we have the tri-board meeting in December,
In December,
December
oh, okay.
15th. So
Gotcha.
we had planned a meeting on December
Gotcha.
8th, and I asked
Yeah.
Nicole to update that meeting invite to the 15th, so hopefully you
Yep,
guys
yep, yep.
have that.
Okay, yes.
So I'm anticipating for our meeting in November, we probably will just have a revenue and fixed costs, like, update from that meeting.
Yep.
And I don't know, and I guess if we have another, monthly report from the.
Yeah, I mean,
from the
if
schools.
something were to come up with that,
Yeah.
maybe.
Anything
doesn't
else
seem
that
like it.
people would want to put on an agenda? Anything else you guys want to talk about or like on your mind that you would want to discuss in a meeting?
Nothing I can think of right this second.
I don't know if we have like a status on the capital improvement projects or something. Do you do that off anytime?
The SIP for this
Like
year,
just
the
updates,
capital improvement
yeah.
budget for this year. Let me talk to Melissa about it. Okay. Okay, sorry, taking a note. Anything else? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. If nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Actually, hold on, I just thought of something. I think that we've talked about this in the past, but, the tri-board, it's not a tri-board meeting, but
The
when
tri-board chair meetings.
yes, the tri-board
Yes.
chair meetings, I know that there was a meeting a couple weeks ago
Yep.
that
Yes.
Melissa did update. Maybe,
Jen attended. Do
Yes.
you want to give us a brief update on what you learned?
that would be terrific.
Can we do that if it's not on the
Well,
agenda?
I mean,
Let's put it this
Okay.
way, I mean, I was there too, nothing in the meeting was voted on or decided.
No,
These were
right.
just for the, if anybody who's listening, so they understand, like when she gives an update in a meeting, this isn't anything, nothing,
Yeah,
And
no.
it was more of a conversation with other board members, and really that was it, just a general feeling about things, getting to know the other people. And so there were some points that we went through, like there are a few people who just didn't understand some processes, and that's what, you're gonna explain about what happened, but for anybody watching, that's what those meetings are.
Yeah, the question was more, are we allowed to talk about it because it wasn't posted on our agenda that we would discuss the contents of that meeting? But
Oh,
maybe
I
I'll just have a
understand.
regular standing item on the agenda from now on.
So that-
Any
Yeah.
updates from
That-
the tri-board chair meeting?
or even any new business
Yes.
thing.
Any
But-
other comments by members?
So I was gonna bring it up just to say if we wanted to add that to our
That's what I'm
next
thinking.
meeting.
Every meeting, I might put just a agenda item that is
New business or tri-board.
new business topics from each member,
Yeah.
round table.
And
That's great.
I still don't think it's a problem to, sorry.
Okay, so Jen,
don't-
give us an
Sure.
update.
So it was really, most of the meeting was spent going over the tri-board process, which is a briefing that I believe is available online. And Melissa just walked through it to explain what a lot of the terminology was. She spent a little bit of time at the beginning talking about the upcoming budget process, how the boards worked through this, gave some dates on revenue and fixed costs and timeline for establishing the budget for next year. Also offered to give some people like me an overview of Municipal Finance 101, which is very helpful. We talked a little bit about new growth being new construction only. It does include ADUs, but does not include things like renovations of your property. She tries to use 5 years worth of data to eliminate anomalies, and when she's estimating new growth, she looks at what's permitted to try to get a better estimate. She went through what overrides require, an override versus a debt exclusion in terms of town meeting vote, select board ordered votes. She emphasized that we are still a AAA rated town, bond rating, and key factors that led to that are maintaining reserves, our debt ratio, And she was able to successfully answer questions related to school spending and some of the challenges we've had, citing some of the steps that have been put in place. And then there was, I think, rules around what town resources can be used for and cannot be used for. But again, it was really, she really went through this
Was
slide
that
deck.
specific to a debt exclusion or an override
So
process, right?
it was specific
Yeah.
to the override process, yes, exactly.
Just for, it was for the group, it was really good to really personally talk about, like, how does it work? Why is it this way? Why do the numbers look this way? What's the difference? I mean, I know it is, but there's no override and debt exclusion. Lots of people have no idea,
Right.
even on the boards, and, or unclear on it. And so that stuff is it's awesome to have
That's
the
great,
town
right.
manager there, yes. Talk about those things.
Yeah. And
So-
that was about it.
Yeah, she's terrific.
I mean, at some point, there will need to be education of the general public on what those things are, if there becomes a point where we think we might
Yeah, if it
have
comes up. and-
to have one of those, but I mean, I
And
think
and
right now
again,
we're
I
just-
would say, just because we had this discussion as a tri-board, we all were like, oh yeah, this is a really good topic for everyone. So because, again, the benefit of having a meeting like that, where you're like, yeah, this is kind of super important. This needs to come before everyone. So I'm with you 100% that, yes. those
And was
lessons.
there a suggestion as to how that might happen?
No, I mean, we didn't talk about it specifically, like, this is what we're going to do, because we weren't there to make those decisions. It's just a general consensus,
Right.
like, yeah, this is a bit of knowledge that everybody's a little bit shaky on. And so we are here
Yeah.
sharing it with our chair, saying, going
Right.
forward, you might consider putting that on the agenda. Let's
Well,
have,
that's
I don't know. You know
That's what I
I
was just gonna say, like, I mean, it kind of feels like a finance committee task
Yeah.
to potentially,
Maybe
it
even-
did not say that in our policies and procedures, but to educate the public on
Maybe,
these aspects of
a written
finance.
discourse, something simple, but, a couple of paragraphs, like, this is what they are, this is what it means, this is how it happens. I mean, like an override, it's not just town meeting, it also needs a vote of the town. It's a true referendum, so, and even if it passes at town meeting, doesn't mean it's going to pass, because it still has to pass the town referendum. So those sorts of things are
Yeah.
important for people to understand, I think, in any year, whether we have an override or not. It's just good information.
Right, it's good information. I think there are a lot of details that she went over, like order of events.
Yeah.
And there doesn't have to be a specific order of events. So, just looking forward, I think it's really helpful for all of us to have a solid understanding for ourselves.
Yes.
And then make sure that the messaging to the town on the process is very, very clear.
Very clear. She also talked about that if it comes to an override, that as board members, and particularly the school committee and the select board, cannot solicit, you cannot champion your cause as a member. As a private citizen, it's one thing, but as an elected or appointed official, it is not. So, those sorts of
But
things.
correct me if I'm wrong, the select board has to call
Correct.
for
They have
it.
to call
Yes,
for it.
it's their
But then
decision.
they cannot champion it?
No, they can't send out,
Sure.
postcards saying, that
Okay.
sort of thing.
They can't campaign on
They
it, they
can't
can just talk
campaign.
about it in
That's right.
Using
a meeting.
public funds, they
Yes.
can, for example, set up a PAC.
Right.
And they, as private citizens and
Right,
members of
okay.
that PAC.
And
can-
and not only that, but the select board can say that they endorse having an override, or they don't endorse having an override. That's different from, they can't campaign it.
Right,
Right.
but theoretically, they would
public funds.
endorse it by calling it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they wouldn't call it if they didn't endorse it,
Right, yeah.
but they're only going to call it, I assume, if schools asks them to, well, I guess we need to.
Yeah, I think,
That's a little bit, it's
It's all speculation at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll think about what I think is the right thing, but maybe we can have a group discussion again, as to when we think is the right timing. Like, I'm not really, while I think I think everyone should know these things, people aren't gonna, I don't wanna start talking about it unless it's something we think is gonna happen, because
It signals
otherwise
something.
it just gets the rumor mill
Yeah,
going.
no,
and
it's
whatever.
just like,
it's-
it's when it gets a
Right.
little closer and
Yeah.
we'll know better. The only thing that I would say that we should talk about in every meeting, and I said this before, is that everyone should attend town
Oh,
meeting.
yes, that was,
Yeah.
I saw this
Always,
note, yes.
always, everyone needs
May
to
12th.
attend. Need to
May
know.
12th.
May 12th,
Town
May
meeting
12th.
is May 12th this year.
Put it on your
Next
calendar.
year.
26, this fiscal year.
Try to figure out how you're gonna be there, how all the voters in your house are gonna be there. It's important every year. May 12th. That's it.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Any other things to talk about?
No.
Do I have a motion?
I would move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.